Hey everybody, this is Paul and Arnold. We're from Particl, and thanks for joining us for the AMA. It's June 2020. Crazy year so far, and hey, but we've been working. Arnold's been cranking out a bunch of stuff. Yuha, Ludix, Alien, Martin, everybody's been working towards getting this new Particl Desktop version 3 out. You've seen some of CryptoGuard's blog posts talking about it, and some of the biggest pieces for that is going to be just the big accepting Bitcoin in, which already has, we already have the ability, I think, to do that right now. Let me pull up what we've got going on with some of the newest things, some of the evolution that's happening with the product inventory import, bot management. We've been talking about bringing in some coins. There's discussion. We'll get into some of these with the AMA questions that you guys have posted regarding getting a stable coin into it. That's definitely, I think, a trend that we knew was the possibility of the stable coins and just how important those would be for the crypto space. But they've actually just, it's amazing. It's been a bigger wave of people moving into stable coins and moving into just the ability to go from, say, Tether to Bitcoin or others. So the MakerDAO is one of the ones we were talking about with that. There's bid cancellation. There's listing fee reduction, UI UX improvements, obviously. It's a big thing for us because all the privacy tools that are out there, while they're important, usually they're clunky. So, I'm hoping everybody that's watching this has downloaded and tested the marketplace. We're seeing a lot of action, hundreds of escrows going through. If you've done it, then you've seen all the handiwork that you're seeing from the team. Just some guys that really are cranking out some good interface and just good e-commerce 2.0 stuff. So with me today, if you guys don't know me, I'm Paul Schmitzer. I help out with the project. I do a lot of the strategy. Have helped out with the community and writing articles. Been working on a few that I was just telling Arnold about before this, maybe a new series. Just have this idea of discussing some of the stuff we're doing and how it relates to what we're used to. So Amazon, and I think I might title it One Nation Under Amazon. So just some thoughts on how that affects vendors, sellers. So I try to help out as much as I can in different things. And then Arnold, obviously, he's our lead developer on the desktop. I'm at the beach and it's sunny here. Arnold is bundled with his toboggan, his sweatshirt. He's grown a beard. It's cold. It's winter where he's at. So he's in South Africa.
To be honest, where I am specifically, it doesn't get that cold. It's just the last couple of nights have been pretty cool. So preemptive dressing.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yep, just in case. It's actually been pretty chilly here where we've been. We had a cold front come through, and it feels almost like fall, almost winter. But the sun's out now, and I think we're going to have a week or two of really hot weather. So we shall see. But usually at night I'm dressed like that because we keep the air up. But so, hey, glad you guys could join us. We got some exciting stuff. I was just going to go over real quick some of the updates. You've been reading these in our blogs and discussing them in our chats, but we've got some updates coming up, and then we're going to get into some of the cool stuff Arnold's and his team's been doing, some of the things to look forward to soon. So I think everybody, including him, they're anxious to get our hands on all of this and seeing it all come together. So once all those pieces come, it'll be really exciting. So anything you want to add real quick, Arnold, before I jump into just some of the early stuff as far as news and different things like that? Or are you good?
Nothing specifically. Let's get cracking.
Okay, cool. Okay, so so just real quick, some of the news and updates before we get into that. So we're actually we're not like doing a cool, which maybe you guys can help out with this, but like a cool renaming or anything. Right now we're referring to this new build that's going to be coming out as version 3. I apologize some of the background noise that may come through, but instead of release 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, whatever, this one's going to be version 3, so it'll be Particl Desktop 3. And there's one of the latest blogs that CryptoGuard's done, all you need to know about Particl Desktop 3.0. You can find a lot of this stuff that I'm going to be saying in there. It's mostly because we're calling it version 3 because so much has changed. So if you've been using 2 right now, you've seen a complete product. It's private by default. Escrows, like I said, we've got hundreds of products moving. 2-party escrow, no third party, low fees, private. People are really enjoying it. But there's a lot of, just like any product, as you get it out, you see how people use it, and there's a lot of things that we really want to put in, but we're not going to just keep building and never release anything. So we want to get things out, get people using it, seeing how it works, and building while, improving it as we go. So we'll do these regular releases. This one's kind of a major release because there's a lot that's been improved on, and I'll let Arnold get into some of that stuff later, but that's one of the reasons why we're making this a big jump from, instead of 2.4, this is a big version 3. So I think it'd be great to have a cool name for the releases and things like that. So something to chew on, something to think about. If you guys are good at naming, and it's kind of fun to have that in there. I've always liked the name Legacy because I think what we're building is leaving a legacy for people after we're done working on it, or that continue to use it. More private way to shop. I've always kind of been partial to that. It's taking longer, obviously, to get it done, but we have a product that, people are using in the meantime. So, but, that version I know everybody's anxious about. So much that's going to go into it. There's also, it looks like we're going to announce that we're going to list the DAI, which is the stable coin from MakerDAO, is going to be on there, and Zcoin first. So Zcoin has been one of our partners in crime with a lot of the stuff. We're real close with Ruben and those guys on the team, and talking about a lot of the same community, the same ideals from the communities and things. So really great community there. We took our time trying to figure out who we were gonna add initially, and along with the people that are already, the communities that are already in there. It's really important that we start adding communities because we want this to grow. It's bigger than just Particl. We didn't build this just for Particl. We built it for the whole space. So, and we're showing that with the bots and being able to use their coins in ours. So I think it'll help generate some buzz and get people excited for our project because they can use they have a use case for their stuff, their coins. There's other coins in the queue for that as well. There's actually going to be an update on the website that we're going to be adding that will allow coins. So if you know of other coins, or if you're involved in other projects and you're looking for ways to get a use case out of it, or to get more promotion or help cross promotion, We're going to be having an application on the website where you'll be able to either push those teams to do it themselves, or you as a community member of other projects, or contributing to other projects. We have a lot of people that are in our community that actually work on other projects too. There'll be a way that you can start getting in the queue for that. So similar to how exchanges add coins and different things like that. So we want to hear from those groups and work together to do that. There's let's see, the team's been preparing to enable voting on the community fund. If you've been keeping track of that, that's a fund that we've had for a number of years that's supposed to be helping promote and grow people building projects and services for Particl, help promote Particl, or help to, other privacy projects. More than, happy to see proposals come through that help fund other projects that maybe struggle with funding, that don't have a coin that, generates, revenue for them or anything like that. A lot of projects that are building awesome things that just rely on funding. So whatever that is, Party Man will be updated with that, and the voting system, I think, will run through that. Actually, Party Man's already updated with that, and that'll be a good way to get some giveaways, some markets, some marketing, some market makers, different things like that in there. So that's the community fund that's coming up as well. So I think that's really all the news. Thanks for joining us for this. We'll get into the AMA now, but we've got I know that's what a lot of people are excited about, as far as getting to hear from Arnold and some things on what's going on with that. So I guess with that, let's see, I'm reading through my little notes. So the intention with this, Arnold, we brought you on. You've got our little transcript here where we're going through what we're going to talk about, but kind of just give an overview, I guess, of what Desktop 3.0 is going to be. Maybe a couple of the key points that you see for that, and
Sure.
If that, so I'll just hand it over to you to.
Okay. Well. Okay. So originally, obviously, we started building this as 2.4. I think the original idea was that we're pretty much going to be adding market. I think it was just the what we're calling market management then into the application. So that kind of snowballed, and well, where we are now, so much has, like you said it already, I think so much has changed from what we were doing, or what we intended to do, versus where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
That it kind of isn't really a 2.4 anymore. It really is very, very different. And so changing it to V3 really makes a lot of sense. But anyway, so like I said, originally it was just going to be market management. I say just market management, but that in itself is quite a complex change in it.
So yes, in market management, for you guys that don't know, that was the ability to have multiple markets. So we have one, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? That's
yes.
We have one default market. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. But yeah. So currently in the current V2 desktop, what we using is a single. Well, we interact with the marketplace, or marketplace engine, as I like to call it. That engine currently deals with only a single sort of global marketplace.
Right.
What the market management for us means, or at least our market management change, that brings in the ability to create multiple different markets. So anybody can literally set up their own markets, and alongside that, we've also, that one of the other things that's been brought in is the ability to set up storefronts. So effectively, where you and a limited number of people that you potentially trust have the keys to that, or the ability to post on that marketplace. So essentially, only you and one or two other people, just yourself, can create listings, and other people can transact. So
Okay.
pretty much a store kind of thing.
That's cool.
But I mean, if you want to set up a general marketplace where everybody can post and anybody can list or create listings, then there's an option for that as well. So we've got both kinds in there.
Cool.
Yeah. So I know I think it's called Fun with Infinite Markets or something now. I'm not sure what the latest term is.
Some fancy marketing buzzwords or something.
Yeah. I think internally it's just been market management for stuck with that. So,
No,
anyways,
that's a cool explanation of it. Yeah, it's interesting to know that. So you could have a specific market that only has, say, 3 or 4 sellers in it that have their own set of clients within that market, and that's one that you preload. It's not a default one, that it's one that you join and just want to buy from them. So you don't have to sort through, thousands of listings. You can just go, I'm going specifically to there. Those are guys I trust to get the product that I need to get. I think that
exactly.
Yeah.
So if you know of a storefront or a general market where the sellers, or it's for example, maybe perhaps you're involved in some side project like hobby electronics or something, and the store down the street is, or at least in a particular area, selling their items. You can, they can have their own storefronts, or maybe it's a group of them, or maybe it's just a trading trading setup, and you've got, so you have that ability to you can trust those, the guys, or the people, you can trust them, you can trust them, and you sort of join their markets and can purchase from them directly. You might not know them, but
yeah. I could see something like this be a really cool for a over-the-counter trading desk. So you have guys that just want to trade without third parties, because we have the escrow system. One of the most powerful things that we've built, I think, in the marketplace is the escrow. It's super powerful. It's got way more applications than just being an e-commerce sort of smart contract, So I could see, you have a number of trading desks that maybe are working right now on Discord or Twitter or kind of that kind of thing, but they switch over and you have OTC market that's got guys that, like, they're the regular traders that, or they have the supply or whatever it is, and you go there to do exchanges of just digital exchanges of currencies, and that's the only market for that. That you're not seeing those listings populate in another market for plants or anything like that. So it's kind of cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in saying that, right? So one of the things that we realized that we needed pretty soon afterwards was custom categories, right? So you don't need if like in your example with OTC type trading desk applications, you probably don't need to see 100 odd categories that don't have anything related, and everything falls under one particular category. That of the type of items that you're dealing with. So, and also we can't cater to every single possible category or a single possible type of category breakdown that everybody kind of wants or needs. So the idea is basically to allow people to, for particularly for storefronts, to basically set up their own category list. And so that was kind of planned for a later release, or we actually had that vision for something further down the line. But I think we kind of realized pretty quickly that was actually something that we probably should include already now. So things kind of have gone. How can I say? So we've added that. We've added that in, and that obviously added time and effort that needed to be used for that implementation. So so things have taken a bit of time, but so we started with the whole market management. Like I said, it's things are. I say just market management, but there's a lot wrapped up in that term. I mean, when you're dealing with one market specifically, there's certain flows, certain actions, and things that take place. Now with multiple different markets, we've got to try and manage user experience across multiple different things, and there's a lot of additional functionality that needs to be added, needs to be addressed. Slightly different flows and like user flows in certain things. So all of that kind of wraps up, and like I say, I mean, I'm saying it was just market management, but there's a lot in that, in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of early on when we started with the 2.4 in the desktop, we kind of knew that the market section of in the desktop, the interface there was probably going to change quite drastically. I mean, the underlying marketplace engine, marketplace code base, was going to change quite a bit. So the sort of user interface on top of that was also needing to change quite a bit as well. And kind of in realizing that, we started kind of also trying to address other sort of rough edges and pain points that people had been running into. And as you mentioned a little bit earlier, having that having the marketplace out there, or the single marketplace out there, kind of gave people, or at least given people, the ability to use it and find out or run into issues and things that we can address. So we're getting actual feedback from people that are using it, which is always good, rather than trying to speculate about what might be beneficial and what's not, and that type of thing. So it gives us actually working feedback to use. So we kind of wanted to address a bunch of things, and I think also early on, one of the things in the desktop that we realized was that our sort of wallet switcher. I mean, I think this is something that was that's kind of a pain point, I think, also personally for me. But your wallet switcher goes through the loading screen every single time, and you also use the wallet switcher. You switch your wallet to enable a certain functionality, which kind of doesn't really seem to make sense. So what we've tried to do, or the direction that kind of I've been looking to try and take, is how can I say, separating out different what I like to call applications or modules. So we've got different apps in the desktop now. So what we're trying to do is replace the wallet switcher with an app switcher. So you've got your wallet functionality, you've got your market functionality, and then the long-term features or long-term things that we'll add in, potentially chat, which is chat communication. The exchange is where it was kind of wrapped up into the wallet side of things. We kind of had or in the current two releases, we've got the exchange bits sitting inside the wallet functionality. We've kind of tried to move that out into its own. But I think that's also, which actually also leads to the discussion of bots, right? So the exchange kind of currently runs off, that exchange part runs off bots, sort of bot integration. And I think we've seen there's been recently a different another bot that's been up or that's been put up by somebody. So that's kind of being used, and I think we kind of needed to start addressing how we use bots in the desktop a little bit clearer.
Okay.
So we've kind of this as we've been moving stuff around, we've kind of been looking at does this actually work, and then refining it as we go. So I think Martin's come up with a lot of helpful like user flows. He's helped change like a bunch of things. So some of it still looks the same, but to be honest, it's the tweaks and things that he's come up with, and that has I think really made like a huge. It looks and feels very, very different.
I think with that too, we're getting a big performance boost as well, right?
Yeah. So when we started with the or when I started putting all this out and planning it out and whatnot, the sort of the marketplace kind of ended up using the sort of ZMQ messages between core, so it kind of gets a push notification from core rather than having to poll core for new information. Like, so instead of asking like every 10 or 20 seconds or whatever the case may be, like, hey, do you have something for me? Hey, do you have something for me? We now get we basically get notified of that hey, there's something available. So while the sort of marketplace engine was busy was including that, it kind of felt high time to push that into the desktop side as well. So for instance, like with wallet functionality, we now, instead of polling for hey, what's this, has the balance changed, has something happened, we've kind of now tried to structure everything into a way that once we get notified that something's been updated, like for example there's a new block received or something along those lines, then we can make the necessary adjustments. So there's a lot of clutter and things that we don't need anymore. Taking that out, pretty much, as I can say, there's a big performance improvements in the way we're doing things, mm-hmm. and how we're doing it, and kind of keeping that sort of app or module separation happening, or putting that in place allowed us to also really focus on very specifics of that module. So, like for instance, in the wallet side, we can now, we're kind of focusing more exclusively on the wallets, so we can make performance improvements and adjustments there, rather than having to worry about, we're changing something in the marketplace. How does that affect the market side of things? How does that affect the wallet, or the wallet code that instead of like linking everything together, you've got all these interconnecting pieces. They're now kind of separated, and they're doing their own kind of thing.
And you
so
said
when you make a change, when you make a change or you want to add something into the mix, it's very specific to what it's that functionality is specific to what it's doing, and we don't need to worry about, okay, well, we've modified this. So how does that affect that and that and that? You know, and
Yeah.
all the connected pieces, and you know, and their connected pieces, you know, and so it goes on. And eventually, you're sitting with this like massive like space that you need to like understand in order to make like simple changes. So that kind of thinking was not. Yeah, kind of try to throw that out and yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that will improve features or releases like in the future? So you're saying that there's a modular approach to like the wallet being something to market, the these sort of things. Like, do you see that, I guess, being a way to, I guess, not only improve or the speed or feature selection that's in those specific to those things without affecting all the rest of the pieces,
Yeah.
or like, do you see they seem like opportunities for other developers to come in and start to build features that they see just for that module, but maybe not worrying about, say, if it's for the wallet or it's for whatever it is, it would focus on that versus them having to have a well-rounded knowledge of everything. It seems very like a really logical step for me.
Yeah. So you mentioned getting other developers in. So ideally, what it allows us to try and do is we've got like a sort of a core section of the desktop, and then having each app or app, let's call it an app, jumping between instead of jumping between terms, but
Yeah.
for each app that we have, ideally we're able to make changes to that app separately. So we can have like bringing new developers on, we can start them with say just a wallet app and like making modifications and things there. So that helps. I guess you can have people people focusing on specifically on how can I say key areas, and
Right.
they are they're the ones making they're taking responsibility for those specific or changes in that specific area.
Yeah.
What also I'm kind of trying to head towards in a longer run, or at least kind of trying have in the distant vision, is a sort of SDK type approach kind of thing in the desktop. So
Sure.
ideally what we're trying to do is also have let's say your eventually when we get to a SDK implementation, we can have other developers plugging their own applications or their own user interface type thing into the desktop. So, giving users the ability to choose like different applications and things, whatever to download or to plug in, whatever.
Right.
That I'm not saying that's the way it's going to work. It's just that's like a potential,
Sure.
possibility. We haven't I don't think we've settled on anything specifically there yet, but ideally, this is the start of heading towards that kind of goal. So by separating things out, we can, or having this like modular approach, we can bring how can I say we can convert different modules or apps into the new way without affecting any of the other apps.
Right.
And so we can change like them over as we go, and we can make massive improvements to one without really affecting the other. And if for instance the marketplace drastically changes again, or like let's say the exchange thing the exchange app needs to be rewritten completely, we're not worried about how that affects the other ones. So
makes sense.
That's kind of
Cool. Well,
So there's a lot of stuff bundled in there. Kind of trying to figure out how to summarize it, but there's a lot of changes. yeah, it's
Well,
it's quite large.
that's cool. Well, maybe as I get into some of the questions or just, talking pieces, some of the other ones. But yeah, I mean, as you guys can hear, there's just like a ton of stuff that's in this version, hence why it's, going to be a version 3 of what we already have. One of the things that stood out to me with what you were saying, Arnold, was this idea, and we've discussed this a bunch, is, so as an e-commerce, well, the idea was the idea of a market browser, so a way to search through storefronts. And so I have a couple questions with that, but what just a little bit of what we've discussed as we've gone through this e-commerce thing. And there's pieces to e-commerce, like as a vendor, you want to promote your products, you want to get people to your store, and there's a number of ways to do that. Obviously, being on a big e-commerce platform like Amazon or eBay or anything like that, you can leverage their customer base, but it comes at a price, obviously, for privacy. I mean, personal data that you're giving up, plus fees of what you're selling, and potentially that you're so popular that they become your competitor and drive you out. So there's that. So you're baiting in the customers, you're getting those customers, but you're dealing with a lot of other factors that may not be worth the cost ultimately. It may be good for a little bit, but may kill what you're trying to do ultimately. So one of the things that I really picked up on what you were saying was this idea of a market browser, and with being a privacy platform, having something that's not really on the internet necessarily. It's a downloadable product. Eventually, hopefully, it's something on the mobile, but it's we're taking a lot of pains and really doing some heavy lifting to make this really make it a private, person-to-person experience, like you're dealing with, going to your store and paying in cash, and not a lot of things need to be transferred to be able to actually have a great shopping experience and get what you need, pay for a good price. But this idea of a market browser strikes me as a really cool idea. And I'm excited to see it in action, because if you're opening a storefront, how do we actually get the word out that, hey, I've got a storefront? Yeah, right. Do you do it on Reddit? Are you going to do it on, there's a lot of subreddits that have, people that are selling specific things, and they've got a whole list of vetting people. And so, but having a built-in browser is intriguing to me, because one, you could use it as we could have, like, we could build in featured spots, say at the top of the list, sponsored almost, that would pay back to the stakers that are staking on the network. And so it'd be another fee. It'd be a fee to feature your store, but it wouldn't be coming necessarily to the team or anything. It would be going to the network of stakers that are already out there, as much as staking is and everything. So it's another reason to hold part and to keep it off the market and have it staking, so that you're earning the fees that are generated by the marketplace. So one, you get this promotion sort of billboard in there, plus it's a way to search through and actually see, hey, I'm shopping for this specifically. This is just stores focused on that. So I guess a couple questions for that is, one, are all stores going to be in there by default? Do you have to pay to be in there? Are they going to be... can you flag them, I guess, if anything happens? Or say if I want something and I just have a set list of clients, I can send them my storefront. I can get them on Particl. We can do all our business. We don't need to promote it. I don't need to have anybody else know I even have a store, because it's just for these guys, and they're my clients, and I just supply them with what they need. Is
Yeah.
I guess so. So that's some of the questions. Is it a default thing? Do you have to pay to be on it? Is it is it something where if people are selling, trafficking people on there, can we boot it off? And do I even have to sign up for it? Can I not even join up for a my market on a browser?
Yeah. So okay. So let me. There's a couple of questions there. So
Sure.
okay. So let me start at the beginning of that. The the market browser essentially is a way to I guess promote your marketplace or storefront. It's a way to kind of make it available to other people, make it known to other people so it's like an in-app, as you said, an in-app notification or promotional means. The it's definitely optional. You don't need it.
It's good.
You don't need to use it. So if you're servicing, as you said, certain clients, you share your market key with those clients. They plug it in, and they'll have access to your market. That's the thing is, okay. So anybody who technically has a key would obviously be able to get access to that. So
Right.
If one of those clients then shared your market key out on like Reddit or something, then,
Sure.
well,
Then anybody can join. Right.
you could have many people joining it.
Right.
But yeah, so in terms of paying, I'm not sure. Look, essentially we're using SMSP to do that promotion. I'm not sure if it's a paid message at the moment. I'd actually have to clarify that.
Sure.
I'd have to look that up. But yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, it's free.
Okay.
Um,
Except if you were doing a feature, if you were paying for like, are we going to have like, featured spots that maybe do have a fee, or that's what you're saying you're not sure about?
Look, I'm not sure if the promotion of it or listing your market in the browser, in this browser list, promotional content type thing. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's a free message or a paid for message.
Okay.
We don't have at right now. We don't have this like a featured spotlight kind of thing.
Okay.
But I mean that's something that's let's not say that's it's not an option.
Could be a cool idea if we could do it, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't see a reason to not have it. But I think it's not included right now because we do need to kind of wrap up and start actually putting the application out there.
Sure. What about
we can add all the features and
yeah,
never get a version out.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
well,
so,
you release something and then it's like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? So
yeah.
it's all I we all get it.
So we kind of have to limit ourselves. I know there's a lot of ideas floating around. Like we've also got a bunch of things that we kind of want to add, and makes it's like, oh no, that's like such a great idea. Let's put it in. But ultimately, if we don't stop somewhere, we're going to be building version 3.0.0.
Sure.
In like for the next 5 years. So at some point we kind of have to to draw a limit. But anyways, so the browsers. What I've kind of forgotten the original question. Sorry.
Well, the other point that I was wondering is, say if there's a market that so we have governance built in where people can kick listings, or they can flag them and then vote on them. Is the same going to apply to market storefronts? I guess. Is that something?
Okay. Yeah. So let's say, for example, somebody's doing something naughty and
Like trafficking's pretty much illegal everywhere. So
yes, yeah.
so
So yeah,
it's a
so
good
if that
example.
comes up,
Sure.
market can be flagged, and then the obviously I guess the market keys get known as like so people will be able to see what's occurring in there. So assuming that the market was hidden and it wasn't available, wasn't known about, just bad people doing bad things. Well, yeah, I mean, flagging the market becomes I guess makes it known, and then you can have it removed.
Okay.
Essentially, like there'll be the same voting mechanisms apply with like flagging, for instance, and you can have it closed.
So that's yeah, and that it's important that that's something that the community the users basically would uh, decide. Like everybody that uses it's a governor on the on the product, right? So it's not
Yeah.
something that we have, like a department that deals with, stuff like this. We're building everything. We're building it so it's smart and P2P, and uses the tech to do what it needs to do. So
Yeah, I think it's important. There's no central sort of authority on what's good and what's not.
yeah,
Different rules apply to different places and that type of thing. So and it's not like the team is sitting there, trying to shut people down.
right.
With like with other sort of e-commerce places, but at the same time, it's important to have some sort of mechanism to take things off that shouldn't be there. And yeah, I mean, this is probably the best way that we can do it without getting involved ourselves. It's essentially a product for people to be used by people like in a decentralized way, but also like provide some control on what's happening on that decentralized network. So
Yep. Okay, so I guess along with that, and I'm not sure if you mentioned this when you were doing the overview of it, but are there going to be identities, like seller identities in this? We've talked in the past about ultimately if we're going to do reputation or not, or how do you get the word out that you're a good seller. The way the escrow is built, there's you lose, even if you're scamming somebody, you're going to be burned too. So that's the beauty of that. But there's still an importance of knowing if somebody's a trusted. You don't want to have to go through that headache of fighting somebody if you don't have to. So are identities in there, and how do those work? I guess if they're part of this next release.
okay, so I think we've put the groundwork in for identities. There's some groundwork that's been laid for that.
Okay.
I don't think it's not in there. Sorry, it's not that it's not in there right now.
Okay.
I don't think there's a sort of usability in that sense, particularly in terms of like reputation and those types of features. But there is some groundwork that has been laid already for that. So
Okay.
I think we're not, that won't be in this next release, but we are building towards that. I think for the most part, a lot of the stuff that we don't have yet, that we know that like people want. For example, like I think we've seen adjustable escrows and that type of thing come up
Yep.
and get requested quite frequently. Those are relatively there. They're not going to be enabled right now, or I don't think they're going to be in this next release, but there are a lot of the groundwork already has already been laid. So has done quite a like massive amounts of work in setting a whole bunch of things up that either is there and we're not kind of bringing it into the desktop part of it, or it just needs a little bit more work and to actually like fully realize and before we can actually use it. So
I think that's good.
that's a lot of stuff is either there or it's kind of almost ready. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good you know, point to make, that you know, we get a lot of community folks, and positive and negative, just wondering, you know, what's taking so long, at least for the market management. So, you know, even when we were at Consensus 2 years ago, I guess now, or maybe it was last year, I don't remember. But yeah, but it, you know, we were talking about it, and that was something that everybody, when we were showing them, they were excited about what we had, but they were really excited about the idea of running their own market that's not part of this, and not having to, you know, shuffle through a bunch of listings that weren't theirs for their clients. And so, you know, we get a lot of people, you know, rightfully, and people building it like yourself, or working on this and using it all the time like me. It's you know, we obviously want that as soon as possible, but I think you've made a number of points that are good to just make sure everybody that's listening is hearing, is that even with the stuff that's going to be released in this newest version, there's more that isn't even enabled, or the groundwork for it has been laid. And that's the important thing, just to understand in general, if you're not a developer, to understand how development, coding, and everything works, is you know, you have to almost lay these pieces out. It's like architecture. So I know architecture, and I know building the foundation's the most important thing. I've spoke about it a bunch when we've talked about this project, because privacy is like a major important piece of our foundation for this project, and everything we do always has to, you know, kind of go back to that, building on the Bitcoin code base and keeping that up to date's another big foundational piece for us. But when we're building this marketplace, like you're saying, we've got the groundwork in there for things people are requesting. So variable escrow, like if I, you know, like I've said in the past, if I have a set of clients that I use, I probably wouldn't even, I'd have my own private store that they would use, and I wouldn't have escrow because we all know each other, that kind of thing. But I can't do that now, obviously. So but the foundation work to have variable escrow in there, the identities, like for me as well, I'm just saying personally, like I like the idea of the internet being able to have multiple personalities. I mean, like having a digital footprint necessarily is not the safest thing, to just one, you know, footprint necessarily. So just for you know, OPSEC and everything like that. So I don't know if I would get much out of, you know, seller profiles, but I know it's super important to a lot of other people. It's when my wife shops, that's like her number one thing to look at, is reviews and who's selling it. So, you know, I think it's just important to know for people that are watching this and waiting and or using it and wishing these features were in. You know, there's a lot of work that's gone into this new one, but there's a lot of things that have been built that we still won't see. But it just shows that there's just a lot that goes into this sort of thing, and even things that we spend, say, a week or two on, we might not see for months or even in the latest release, but it's there, and it's setting up the groundwork for something to be there in the future. So just a caveat, as you've been, you know, explaining greatly, you know, everything that you guys have been doing, which is a ton of stuff. So yeah, like just to, you know, elaborate on that a little bit more. Well, a lot of the things that we're actually doing, we're not just, yeah, as you said, like we're not just building right now. We're also looking at what we're like potentially going to be building in the future, and and then trying to kind of as we build the current features, not like code ourselves into corners and or, you know, put functionality in a specific way, so that we can't get to that, or it becomes kludgy and whatever, to try and get to that eventual feature or functionality as well. So
I mean, we can't prepare for everything, obviously, but as much as what we can, we're trying to
Yeah.
think a bit about what we're trying to get to and how we're trying to get there, and kind of, okay, this is what we're busy with now, but we're also kind of need to get there at some point. So how do we match those two up with not knowing what like necessarily all the details of the eventuality of what it is that we're going to have in the future. So
Yep.
kind of, yeah.
That's good. So we've been going, probably for a good amount of time. There was one more point I wanted to get to, inventory management. I don't think we've touched on just yet, but and then maybe try to hit some of these community questions. Does that sound pretty good? So, what's
Yeah. Look, inventory management. So a lot of the we've got inventory management and quantity management. The quantity side of things isn't going to make it into this release.
Okay.
The inventory management. So one of the big problems, or not problems, but concerns with what we had before, like templates, for instance, is we're trying to balance the single user that sells like one or two items. It's kind of looking at it as more of a sell the odd item here or there, like I've got a old phone or something and I kind of want to sell it off, versus how can I say, commercial users, people that are in it like regularly, that are how can I say, your vendors. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
But anyway, they kind of want to manage their items and their products and that type of thing. So what we're kind of trying to balance the two out, but so what we've kind of got is trying to align things that's in such a way that your templates, your products, essentially are you can republish them to multiple different markets, but also make changes to them based on the different type of market. So, for example, you might have two different markets that you publish to. Say, for instance, the same sort of items that are on like maybe one is a like a special client zone, like maybe like a featured customer kind of zone. So you give those guys pretty good discounts on the items, but in another more general marketplace, you've got different you want the same item but at slightly higher price, like more sort of market pricing, whatever kind of thing. Maybe you need to change the description a bit. I don't know. There's a variety of possibilities, I guess. So the idea is to be able to publish those to those different markets with the changes, and then be able to edit each one and change them again later, and adjust as you go. So your pricing might change on a weekly or monthly basis or whatever kind of thing. So we're kind of trying to offer those, but in a way that kind of makes sense to the user. So we've actually spent a lot of time now, probably in the last couple of weeks, basically looking at that, building something, reviewing it, and deciding, okay, that didn't kind of work. Let's try something else. So inventory management is, how can I say, this is a it's difficult to get right for a variety of users, and we've been through a couple of iterations, and I think we've got the basics of it right.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's we'll obviously expand on this as we go and as we get feedback on it, and we'll kind of use it and say, okay, no, they don't like this,
okay,
or they like it or whatever kind of thing. So
that's good.
So we've got a I think the basic start to that in the desktop, and but it's definitely open for expansion.
Yeah, like
see how people use it.
one of the ways I know I've seen, people mention it, and I know some of the listings I've done in there have been, say, clothing or something, some of our particle stuff, and being able to show, not just show 5 shirts, and the only difference is the size, but it's 5 listings and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so in that regard, that's what we call variants or
Okay.
variations. So size, color, those types of things. That's not, again, that's also not quite there yet. We won't have that, but this sort of sets up for that. So this change kind of allows us to, as soon as we're ready to bring those, or like the variations in, we can add this easily into the current option or into the current sort of user flow without making drastic changes, or having to rebuild the entire thing again.
Yeah. That's good.
So again, it's that it's that groundwork kind of, building on,
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. I know that'll be real handy for just even searching, being able to see just one shirt and then pick the sizes, but I'm sure it's tricky too. Okay.
Yeah, look,
go ahead.
That's a whole section on its own. I think also just in saying that there's things like reviews and things like that. It sounds easy, like, hey, I would just do this, but as soon as you start considering all the different options and all the different possible ways of doing things, and how, obviously you kind of want to be able to protect people's. There's the privacy thing that you're kind of trying to protect. There's the but you also want you don't want the system to be gamed.
Yeah.
And it's got to be done in a way that kind of works right, and there's the usability aspect of it. So to try and match all of that up, like there's a large variety of possibilities, and like trying to consider all of them and then try and bundle them all in a nice way. There's a lot of planning and then a lot of thinking that has to go into it, and it does take a bit of time. So, but I think we're pretty close. I think we're kind of home stretch now.
That's good.
Well, hopefully we are.
Yeah. Then it's on to the next thing. Okay. Well, that's cool. I think that's a pretty, in-depth review of. Is there anything we missed as far as that before jumping in the community questions? Anything that we haven't said that you're like super stoked about or whatever? Or is that pretty much everything for them?
Well, I can talk about it for hours. I mean, so I don't know. Maybe it's,
yeah.
There's a lot that's like I said. There's a lot that's changed. I think. I'm not sure. I don't think there's any sort of one or two sentences that can summarize everything.
Yeah.
But it's definitely we've listened to what people have said. We've brought in like additional performance boosts. We've changed the UI and try to create a much better experience. I mean, obviously, there might be one or two things that people don't like, but that, I mean, we're trying to listen to what people are saying and wanting, and we're definitely open for suggestions on things, but can't wait to push it out. Like,
yeah. Here's another cool thought. I'm not a developer, so but I pretty intertwined in what we're doing, and I know enough to dabble and stuff, I guess, but I understand design pretty well and what it takes to do that, and good design from bad, and I think a lot of people respect the development and the design of the project in the space. You see the product, obviously, and you can tell it's very professionally done. Everything works really well. We don't put out stuff that breaks, or we're not, we really make sure we test everything. We have a nice testing rigor to everything we do, and design rigor. I think one thing that I notice, and this is props to you and your team, and I think the rest of the team, especially the designers, the interface guys, and that UX, is that just the fact that so this is our version 3 that's coming out. I think it's important that I think it's telling of how we are going about this, that we don't just sit back and rest on what we've done. We're always trying to push it a little farther. The rewrite and different things that we've done wasn't just haphazard because we messed up a bunch of things. This was to improve, and you've pretty much rattled off a ton of things of way it's improved, and to set up things that aren't even going to be in it ultimately in this version, but eventually will be in it. But the fact that when we launched this, when I look at the version 1 of the desktop, when it came out, it was slick. I mean, it was nice. It felt like it was fast. It was awesome to, I don't know if you tried it on like a touch device, but like my laptops flip between laptop and tablet, and it was fun to just touch and play with, like go through the desktop and the buttons, and what Martin and Herloff, and those guys did with the UI then, and the fact that they've improved it even more. The design of it's changed subtly. If you've been watching, anybody that's listening and watching this and has used it has known, like the design of it, it's been subtle, but things have changed from like the first to the second. I've seen screenshots. I haven't tested the newest version yet, but this new one even more, so, and it's not like we do it, what we're putting out's, just self-biased here, but I think it's some of the nicest design stuff that's out there, and it's very professional, like what a multi-million-dollar company would do when we have a small team. But so props to the guys all of you guys doing that. But the fact that we're not scared to change the design and continue to make it better. In fact, we look for ways to do that, to make things more intuitive, more the flow simpler. The same with the developing. Like we solved, you could check off the mad escrow, the different things that we've solved, but you guys are still going back in and saying, well, this worked. It allowed us to be able to do this the right way, to do it checking all our boxes, but there's a better way to do it, and we really need to do that. And if we do that, we'll be able to do so much more to this. So
we get all these additional things that we can do after that, and that's kind of
right. So I guess just I'm part of the team. I know what's going on, but I think it's just important to point that out as far as just the studs that you guys are, the whole team, as far as being able to not just sit back on what you've done and say, hey, look, pat me on my back, this is what I've done. And no, it's still not. Any good designer or developer or builder will know, like there's still things that I don't like about this, and I'm going to fix them, and I'm going to continue to make them better and stuff. So I see the team doing that regularly. I know it's tough to wait for these things to come out, but just know that when it comes out, it's going to be, just awesome, so much better, and it's going to lead to even more things. So it's just be excited about that, I guess. Like I know there's frustrations waiting and stuff like that, but like you can't, you can't fault us. We've been cranking this stuff out. We deliver what we're doing. So, for that sense, I think just props to you guys for that. So that's just a sidebar, but
thanks. But yeah, in saying that, we also, if you thought the sort of V2 was pretty slick, the I don't think the screenshots do the new version kind of justice. I think I've said this like a couple of times before, like channels and whatnot. But you have to use it like using it is very. It works a lot better now. It just looks better. It feels better. Yeah. I'm probably also biased, but I think the guys have done a huge. There's been a lot of good changes and tweaks and updates and things that have gone. So yeah, definitely something to get your hands on and play with when it comes out.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Okay, so we went through and I think we have a really good overview of what desktop version 3 is. There's probably going to be a lot more that we're going to write about and discuss, but I hope this is a really good sort of overview of that. What we want to do now, we have a little bit of time. This is a pretty long broadcast, but we wanted to get in a few of the community questions. We don't have time to answer all of them, I'm sorry, but we could either do a follow-up where I jump in and do those. I'd be happy to do that, or we can do it as a blog. Either way, maybe we do both. But we'll go ahead and jump into a couple of these, but I want to be able to have a easily viewable broadcast without it going on and on and on. So even though this is an AMA, I guess, and this is the AMA part. But we appreciate your guys' comments. Obviously, keep asking them. We always answer all of them. We just may not have time this time. So I know one of the first ones was just about stablecoin integration. We talked about that a little bit in here, but the answer to that, I guess, is that there is a new swap bot that'll have the DAI MakerDAO token for part, and we're working with that MakerDAO team to figure out ways to cross promote and everything, and that'll be a standard thing for whenever we have a coin that comes in and everything. That's one of the factors as we go through, is trying to figure out. Obviously, we want to open this up to all the communities, but we also want to have that cross promotion. We want to do this to help boost the awareness of part and what we're building, obviously. So finding other communities and people get excited about that, but to also help cross promote is good, because it helps bring in developers, hopefully some funding. So speaking about funding, I know one of the questions was about how dependent is Particl on the foundation, and currently there's a couple things that help us having the foundation. We're depending on them, the project's dependent on them for what the legal benefits that brings. So there's a whole there's either one or two. I know at one point we had two teams, a US based one and a Switzerland based one, on the foundation. They were part of that. So as we were, and that's all dependent on the regulations that all the countries are trying to figure out and everything like that. So there was a need for us to have a couple legal teams. That costs money, and the project doesn't. Our project doesn't hold any part. We have no control over the supply of part or anything like that. We build products for the part ecosystem and stuff. We develop that and everything, and use cases for part. So having the foundation's integral to the team for having that legal aspect of it. They come in to deal with exchanges, services, different things like that need to happen. The foundation gets audited. I think a couple times a year. We need a legal team for that, or they need a legal team for that. And then obviously if we're bringing in other coins or different things like that has to happen. The governance on the platform, all the things that went about making the platform actually live, the marketplace live, all of that had to do with a lot of it relied on legal stuff that the foundation supplied to the project. As far as funding, it pays for development salaries on the consultants that are working on it, and marketing, and so that's how the project is funded now. There's, that being an open source project, and funded by a nonprofit, there's obviously ways where the project could be funded by other means, and not rely on the foundation for at least the monetary side. So hopefully that answers that question. Let's see. I want to get to a handful that are probably beneficial. If you know of any too, Arnold, that specific to you, feel free to jump in. I'm looking through all our questions right now, just so
I think.
Go ahead.
I think this. Sorry, just. Sorry, let me not. Just
That's
quickly,
okay.
There was one that I saw that I thought was.
There's a question about exactly the next release. Expect exactly the next release.
Oh, yeah, okay. Just trying to see where that is, but.
Or maybe
yeah,
even the development priorities after that too.
Okay, well, I guess I can answer both of them in one go. So yeah, so the there's also one on. Sorry, I see the adjustable MAD escrow that'll be included. Yeah, so that obviously the adjustable escrow. I think you already mentioned that'll be in in the follow up.
Yep.
Look, to be honest, I don't think we've settled on anything specific for after the next release, or what we're going to be doing specifically after this one. There's a lot in the pipeline. I think we also need to kind of just look at what's, again, what the sort of feedback is that we get from the sort of initial users and use cases, or people using the actual version, and then kind of maybe realign some priorities and look at some low-hanging fruit that we can get, like, knock out the door there as well. But yeah, I think, like, if we look at, like, the roadmap, for example, we've kind of covered quite a chunk of items out of them. So yeah, so with this release, so I think figuring out what comes for the next one, that's probably something that's going to happen after we actually release and see what the importance of or the important items to people,
Okay.
for people are.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's
I don't want to specifically say anything like, sorry, that we're going to be working on. There's a lot that we can work on. We just haven't settled on anything.
Yeah, no, makes sense. There's a couple questions about talking about part, how to boost the liquidity of part, how to boost Particl's price, how to let's see, I think something about market making in there. I think to any of these, and I've answered this before on AMAs like this, is like, the team doesn't have any say in the supply, the price, anything like that. We can't partake in money market maker services or anything along those lines. To hopefully do that, we can't add that to anything on our workload, just because legally we can't we just don't have any say in the price or the supply or anything like that. So any questions regarding that? We are always talking to exchanges. We have helped a lot of exchanges integrate our stuff. We've helped a lot of services integrate part into them. So there's that. That's always ongoing. But when we don't really take on specific ventures or anything like that to specifically boost the price. Now, a lot of the products that we're doing have direct effect on the price. So the tokenomics of the coin itself, the products that we've built as far as having escrow, the staking, different things like that. Now, those have effect on the price or the availability of the coins. And that's just out of the nature of the beast that they are. So staking takes coins off of the market, so there's less of a supply, obviously. They help boost, become a revenue generator for people that are staking, cold staking or anything like that through some of the staking pools. So there's that. There's escrow, which actually takes coins off of the market. It locks coins up just as much as staking. Both of those together really, effectively reduce the supply as the marketplace gets larger, as more markets open up. You'll see that pinch even more and more. Now that, I'm not, financial advisor or anything like that. So, but I'm just saying the logic of that is that with a reduced supply, the price would go up because there's more of a demand. So that happens just in general when you have a product that runs on, a certain coin or whatever, and you need more of that, the price goes up. So that's not our goal when we're building these things, but it's a benefit. So there's nothing wrong with it being a benefit of what we're building. So especially for those that believe in the product and the team and are holding or staking or anything like that. So we don't really have necessarily ability for that. I know there was a message on there or a question specifically regarding something Ruben had suggested to us from Zcoin about managing liquidities on Bittrex, and again with the market making bot or anything like that, that has to be all community driven. So with the community fund opening up, potentially that could be something that proposals for that to help increase liquidity, to help increase at some point the price. All of that can be community driven, can be led, everything like that. It's hands off for the team. It's fair game, in my opinion. So I think that would be, some things to look at as you're looking into when that community fund is available and proposals for that, and how you could effectively, help the part community, help the crypto space, and all of that, and contribute more. So I think
I think there's a question there as well on how they, can we create or use a community voting or donating system? So that's that kind of, I think, talking about Bodyman, having been updated, to allow for movement of those funds and voting on mechanisms by the community. So thought that might be worth. I think there's an article or something coming up, or at least I think CryptoCard or somebody has some more information on that. In the near future, but.
There's a question about licenses, and I know this has been a hot topic in the space with. We had already agreed before we got onto this that we wouldn't get too much into McAfee or Ghost coming out, just because it's getting ready to come out, and that's its own animal to discuss. But it's definitely something worth valid and worth discussing on another episode, I think. But there is a question about our licenses. And with you being the developer, maybe you would have a better idea of this. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But there's a question about the MIT license on the code base. We always have questions about why don't we have things. Why is everything always open source? Because people copy it and take what we work so hard on. Especially the rebranding of the interface that we just said was so awesome. People just pawn it off as their own when our guys have put their blood, sweat, and tears for 2 or 3, 4 or 5 years now into making this what it is. And somebody spends a weekend rebranding it, saying it's their own. And so do you have any comment, I guess, on licenses? We use the MIT license, obviously, on a number of things.
Yeah, I think MIT is used on the core code base.
Yeah.
So like Bitcoin. I obviously wasn't around like in the early days, so keeping it MIT. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what the restrictions are in terms of forking something and then retaining the license in terms of MIT specifically, but I don't think it's a bad thing having it completely open source.
Yeah.
People can fork, and that's what you do. You start at a particular point, like if something works and you use it, fork it, and I think I mean we fork from Bitcoin, so there's that aspect to it as well. And we've come a long way, and I think we've done. I mean, there's amazing work done in the various products. The only thing that we have closed sourced is, or we've changed the license to be a bit more restrictive, so that it's not visible. Is the Particl desktop. So that's actually just the user interface that sits on top of everything else. So everything is still open, and I think it's good that it's open, and that it's,
I agree. I agree.
Visible, it's auditable. There's a certain aspect of trust that you get from that. Now, we can close it, and then people then the sort of argument is but now it's, we can't see what's happening, and can you really trust the
centralized? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and if the team, the foundation, whatever, had to disappear, the project can still continue because it's open.
Yeah.
So you're not placing the value of the code with the organization that kind of runs it or manages it. It can continue beyond that, and I think that's great. And look, the desktop being like sort of hidden off, I think that's just more to give us a bit of a advantage. And that's more, I think, to prevent people pushing off or cloning it and then changing a logo or something and saying, hey, look, we created this. It gives us a bit of an advantage when people can use the interface that we've put together, and we can retain ownership of that. But there's nothing in saying that there's also not a the code isn't hidden. I mean, it's still JavaScript. You can still inspect it. You can still see it. It's just not in a way that's immediately how can I say, allows you to contribute or develop to it. You can expand it, you can see it, but there's a bit of effort in putting that back into a way that's kind of resembles the original source, to modify and compile. But you can still inspect, you can still see what's happening. So I don't think there's anything really preventative in that way that's stopping somebody from not trusting the desktop code. But yeah.
I think that's good.
don't really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that makes sense. And I know a lot of these, you had mentioned it at the start, but I know a lot of codes like, or licenses, if you fork them, you have to retain the license. So I think that's why we still have MIT. I'm not sure, but I believe that's typically the case. Now, a lot of people that fork things erase the history and do a bunch of stuff like that to try to cover their tracks, which is signs of somebody not maybe a bad actor or anything like that. But it's just I think all of the team would have big arguments about closing anything down or anything like that. I think we all love the open source aspect of it. We love getting community contributors. We love the accountability that open source has. There's some drawbacks, like people copying them and stuff. I think it's harder for people in the crypto space to have copycats because there's monetary coins involved. Like there's finance vehicles that are involved in that, so it makes it a little closer to home because it could be hurting your livelihood or whatever. But but when you take that out of it and you're looking at just the product that you're building, it's really the best place to be in. I think a lot of the most respectful products are the same way. On Bitcoin obviously is copied all over the place, and they're still chugging along, and you just build what you're building. So no, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's a ton more. I feel like we've kind of come to a good spot on here, unless there's something else you wanted to answer. I think a lot of these, there's a lot of questions that we could just keep answering, and maybe this, I'll talk with CryptoGuard after. Maybe this becomes a second follow-up, before we release or something like that, or maybe we spin up our AMAs again, something we were regularly doing every couple weeks or so, because there are a lot of questions. There's a lot of new community members. There's a lot of new users coming in, and we'll have more of that as we start bringing in other communities. So as the marketing ramps up with vendor onboarding and cross promotion between coin communities and stuff, I think there'll be a lot more questions and that sort of stuff, and it would be good for the community too to start helping out. So there's some always questions, how can we help more? And I think promoting on Twitter and social media is good. If you're a developer, jump into the code. Like Arnold said, it's all open source. Our team's real anxious to, or always anxious to help somebody asking questions and wanting to contribute on GitHub or in the developer channels, and then just like getting into the community fund and finding ways to start promoting and stuff like that. I've seen that in other projects where when people are funded, or when they're able to get a certain amount of working capital, they can do a number of things to promote their coin that they love or their product that they love. So I think that community fund will be really good for that. So I'm going to say that we're probably at a good stopping point, if you're cool with that as well, Arnold.
Yeah, I just want to add in, like, maybe the so just mentioning the I think there's the Particl Academy. That like sort of that's kind of also, I think, scheduled for release or becoming available or whatever after once we get this V3 out.
Yeah.
That should be like a little sort of information hub or whatever, help get people going with various aspects of Particl, which I think is kind of nice for getting people up to speed and getting them on
a place to kind of get pointed to. Yep.
Yeah.
kickoff point.
Getting them more active in the community and that type of thing. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, well, again, guys, thanks for having us on here. I think everybody's anxious, but hopefully you got some of your questions answered and some more knowledge on what Arnold and the guys have been, cranking out. I'm sure we'll probably start seeing some testing versions of this at some point, and there's always something fun that they throw in. No pressure, but at the end or whatever. But thanks again for joining Arnold and myself. It's always a pleasure being able to open up and share what's going on. Hope everybody stays safe with all the craziness of 2020, especially hearing it seems like things are maybe ramping back up again. Scary. So anyway, appreciate you guys listening in. And Arnold, you got any parting words, or you good to go?
Yeah, I've said a lot already. So
yeah, Arnold's on his
no.
He's kind of in his chill mode, so it's like lunchtime for me, and he's at the end of the day. So that's what you guys get.
Just let it go already.
Yeah. Okay, well, again, thanks guys for having us and for listening in, and can't wait to do this again with you, Arnold, here soon, and talk to you soon, and see you guys.